My girlfriend left me hanging when her friends embarrassed me, so I've had enough of this drama. My girlfriend, let's call her Sonia, was going to a ladies' brunch this past weekend. She asked if I could pick her up, I said sure. She texted me and asked if I wanted to grab a drink with them and then we could go. I said I didn't want to intrude, but she insisted and said it was fine, so I joined. No one is talking to me when I get there. And when I try to join the conversation, I'm ignored. That one drink before we leave starts to turn into more. She has her arm around me but isn't looking or talking to me. I feel pretty excluded, so I excuse myself, say something came up, and go to leave. I send her a quick text saying I feel like I'm intruding, and that it's no problem. I'll pick her up later. She immediately calls me, insists that I come back, that I was imagining it, etc. So, I do. Things do seem better at this point. People are looking at me. And it seems whatever weirdness is over, I'm enjoying myself until I get back from the restroom. Immediately her friends do a hush-hush. One of her friends tells me to excuse myself from the conversation. I'm sort of taken back, so I look at Sonia. She doesn't look at me. I feel shitty, like a child that's asked to sit in a corner or something. And I don't want to make a scene, so I stand up to leave, then she says no, just excuse the topic, don't listen for a bit. I'm just confused at this point, so I sit back down and pull out my phone. Obviously I can't not listen and they're talking about my girlfriend's ex. He's apparently missing in a foreign country. No one knows where he is. Sonia gets these weird calls from different numbers every couple of months. It's been 2 years. This is all mostly new to me, and the moment I start to hear her getting weird calls from him, I just get up and go to the bar. I didn't want to make a scene or anything, but talking about that in front of me, without holding my hand, asking me if it was alright to dive into talking about her ex, or even looking at me at all just seemed really humiliating and disrespectful. So 40 minutes go while I'm at the bar. She texts me a sorry 20 minutes in, but it takes another 20 for her to stop the conversation. I've just been eating dinner at the bar and grabbing a drink when she comes over to apologize. I tell her that it's not okay, that I feel really hurt and angry, and that if the situation was reversed she would be furious, which she agrees with. We go back and forth at the bar and then go home. On the way home, she's extremely defensive. She apologizes and then gets mad at me for not saying it's okay. She says that she knows she made a mistake, but what else should she do? She blames me for leaving the conversation. She's getting angry, so I drop her off at home, say goodnight, and go home. The next day, she is extremely apologetic. She says she was a horrible girlfriend. She says she has no idea why she didn't change the topic, look at me, or why it took her 40 minutes to realize that it was shitty to invite your boyfriend and then exclude him so you can talk about your ex. She says she barely slept last night because she has no idea why she acted like that, or why she got angry at me for expressing how I was feeling. We ended up having a long conversation where she listened to me without getting upset. She apologized profusely. She promised it wouldn't happen again, etc. Unfortunately, now I can just feel all of my guard up. I know that in the grand scheme of a relationship, this wasn't some grand betrayal or anything, but it really feels like in such a simple, obvious moment to have your partner's back, she totally let me down. This isn't the first time I've felt excluded around her friends, either, but before I just chalked it up to my insecurities. Now I feel like I don't trust that she'll stand up for me. Or consider me at all when she's around her friends. I don't need her focus to be on me or anything. But, when she's around my friends and I always make an active effort to include her in our conversations. If one of my friends told Sonia to excuse herself from the conversation, I would shut that friend down and tell him not to talk to her like that. If my friends were asking me about my ex while she was around, would say, who cares, I have Sonia with me now, and make it clear to her that she was my priority. We've talked about all of this, I've communicated all of this, she has apologized profusely. And she has promised that it won't happen again. She has made it clear that she understands how I'm feeling, and I greatly appreciate that. I don't feel safe around her friends, and that trust needs to be earned again, which she has acknowledged, unfortunately, in the meantime. I don't know how to feel better, I still feel hurt, I'm still kind of pissed, and I still feel worried. She was going on a bachelorette party weekend in Maui with these friends, and I wasn't worried before. But now, because I don't know that I can trust her around her friends, I start catastrophizing in my head about things going down at that party. I feel like I need something from her, and I don't know what it is. Furthermore, I don't really know how I can get it outside of just more time with her friends and more evidence that I won't get repeatedly thrown under the bus in that situation. More info. It's just so out of character for her to treat me like that, part of what I love about her is how usually in tune she is with me, how upfront she is about what she needs, and how receptive she is to my needs. I don't feel like this was big enough to break up over, and 99% of the time, she makes me really happy. I just don't understand where this came from. And it makes me wonder if this is a fluke, or if it's the real her. She has said she realizes how awful it was. She has been very comprehensive and sincere in her apology. I'm just so thrown. However, she said that if something like this ever happened again, she'll shut down the topic. Also, the phone calls are definitely from him. Sorry if I was unclear about that. I wasn't following the conversation closely enough, so I was trying to convey my experience. One of the friends was friends with the ex before she was friends with Sonia, and that friend brought it up to try to get info. None of his friends know where he is or what happened, and this isn't the reason they broke up. She left him, then all this shit happened. She basically said that she's 100% over him, but they were together/engaged for almost a decade, and it's a little scary for someone who was a part of your life like that to be missing in such a weird way. I definitely need to ask her more about the calls. I think she did the thing that I understand where in her mind, they were meaningless and she didn't want to worry me about them. I think the intention was positive, it just made what happened sting all the more. I really want to stay together. But I definitely can't forget this. I want to be in a place where I can forgive, but it is challenging right now. I think a lot of this can be chalked up to my boundaries. Obviously, her behavior wasn't good, but knowing her, I feel like if I had been more able to articulate what was wrong before it went too far or just left when I said I was going to leave, this would be a very different story. Update. It is absolutely insane that this was only a month ago. It feels like so much longer. We broke up. I broke up with her last night. Things got better, then they got worse, then they got better again. Then we were around her friends again and I felt like she was a completely different person who didn't treat me as nicely. Again, I yelled at her in front of her friends, she yelled at me, and she gave me an ultimatum to spend the night with her or leave forever. I spent the night. Then the next week I called to talk about how uncomfortable I was with that ultimatum, and she immediately accused me of trying to break up with her. She then drove over to pick up her stuff without listening to me at all. She called me after she picked up her stuff to apologize. She then blamed me for everything that happened. Then she accused me of playing her and cheating on her. Then called me again to say how hurt she was that I didn't fight for her harder when she suggested breaking up. The next day, I sent her a breakup text because I felt like I couldn't do it in person. She drove over, said everything would change, things would be different, we worked so well together, not to let one mistake ruin what we had. I said let me think on my own for a week. Obviously, she did not leave me alone that week for one day. She started with good mornings and pleasantries, which I asked her to stop for the week. Then about how hard it was the next day. Then the day after that about all the good times we had. Then the next day about how torturous what I was doing was to her and that she would never do this to me. That one stung a lot. All of that honestly made the decision easier. I don't think she was doing it intentionally. I just think she was in a lot of pain and thought this was her one chance to change my mind. So she threw all caution or fear of looking crazy/foolish to the wind. I don't know. Last night we sat down to dinner, which was pleasant. I made it clear we were done and said goodbye. Then when I got home, she called me, begged me to come over one more time, said she was terrified about being alone, said that we were perfect for each other. She loved me, and she couldn't say goodbye. After about 30 minutes of us both sobbing into our phones, 25 more minutes more than I should have let it go on. I said I would say goodbye and hang up. And I did. I turned off my phone and woke up to 3 voicemails and 10 texts, ranging from how much trouble she was in, thanking me for our time together to asking if she could come over to say that she'll always love me. The last thing she sent me was a very rational, very honest apology saying she won't contact me, she'll always love me, that she was sorry for hurting me, and that she never meant to. I know my last post really brought out a lot of anger toward her, and seeing it all written out like this, trust me, I'm aware of how manipulative and manic she was. It's just so difficult because it would switch on a dime. Sometimes we were great and it was so calm and safe, and then boom I would have my guards raised higher than a skyscraper and we would be going at it. So when she leaves a voicemail that sounds more like that side of her, my heart just melts, until I remember the other side, which isn't hard. I have so much tangible evidence of that other side now, in texts and voicemails. It's also hard because in that dinner we both acknowledged that it was mostly when she was around her friends, and that's something that in some part of my head feels fixable. It's just really hard. Rationally I know that I would have to be a masochistic idiot to stay in this dynamic. But in my gut and in my heart I feel like I just threw away something amazing, that this was it for me, that love is worth fighting for. That these fights were us challenging each other and that we could have emerged on the other side as stronger, more complete, better people, and a fantastic couple, but like I said, I know that's not true. It's just really, really hard not to let my mind go there. It doesn't help that one of the main things she told me was that I think too much and to go with my heart. As is the case with most of the updates that end in breakups, I don't really know what I'm looking for here. The writing on the wall saying I did the right thing couldn't be clearer, but it sure as hell doesn't feel right now. Thank you for watching. For more videos like this remember to like and subscribe.